What if the Twin Towers were never hit on September 11, 2001? So just real quick, what happened on September 11, 2001? There were 4 fully fueled planes that took off from 3 airports: Logan Airport in Boston, Gould Airport in Washington, D.C., and Newark Airport in New Jersey. Each of the planes were hijacked by a total of 19 al-Qaeda members, all split between the 4 planes, headed by Osama bin Laden. They had 4 planned destinations: the Twin Towers in New York, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., the White House in Washington, D.C., and the Capitol Building in Washington, D.C. After the Twin Towers had been attacked and fell to the ground, many lives were lost. The police lost 23 officers, the fire department lost 343 firefighters, and civilian deaths totaled over 2,000. This could have all been different, and the lives would have never been lost had the planes never hit the towers. What could have been done differently? Well, in security measures in airports, the workers didn't pay very good attention to detail. The passports and visas of the terrorists were false, the visas were improperly filled out, and the passports were clearly fake. The screening was also not done very well. The workers doing the screenings knew to check for weapons, but they were unable to actually know that these men were on a suicide mission. One man set off a metal detector and the hand wand, and the worker doing the screening didn't check to see what had set off the metal detectors. He was just allowed to go through and get onto the planes. And every part of security that was supposed to stop terrorists like them had failed. Also, the communication efforts were very bad. The communication between military and NORAD, which is the North American Aerospace Defense Command, was not very effective. The military jets had no idea where to go to try and stop these hijacked planes from hitting buildings. Also, the president didn't react quickly to the problem due to some confusions. Once the first tower was hit, it was just thought that it was a mistake by the pilots. But once the second tower had been hit, it was now sure that America was under attack, and that is actually when the president left to go deal with the issue at hand. And in conclusion, security and communication was not at its best that day, because security could have stopped these men right away, because if they would have paid attention to what they had been given, the terrorists would have never gotten on the planes, and they would have been stopped at security and taken away to prison. So the first discussion question: whose fault do you think it was that the workers at the airport did not properly check the men? Who should the blame be given to? So there were many changes made after 9/11, and because of the 9/11 attacks, security measures were very different. Airport security changed. TSA was created, and TSA is the Transportation Security Administration, for stronger security measures in all types of transportation. Anyone who walks into an airport is now thoroughly checked for any sort of weapons. It was created just a short time after 9/11. And Americans were more cautious in the months following the attacks for fear of being in the same type of situation. Security at home was different too. The Department of Homeland Security was created for stronger security measures throughout the entire United States. It focuses on terrorism and keeping it out of the United States. It was created just 11 days after the attack. The second discussion question: do you think that TSA and the Department of Homeland Security would have eventually been created? Why or why not? In the years after the 9/11 attacks, we entered the War on Terror. We wanted to end terrorism because of what happened to our country. And it is very possible that America would have stayed out of this war had it not been for the 9/11 attacks. We fought for many years in the Middle East, and there were over 350,000 deaths due to direct violence with the issue. We had to send large amounts of troops and supplies to these countries for years and years, and we just finally got out of the War on Terror just a few short years ago. Also, the way that Americans view Muslims have changed drastically. they're all viewed as terrorists now, even though 93% of Muslims don't support terrorism. The leaders in their communities teach against the extremist ways of terrorism. They're stereotyped unfairly because of what the extremists in their communities have done. They also go through different airport security than we are used to. They are randomly selected to go through more security checks than a passenger that does not look Muslim. They have extra screening on their baggage and on their person as well, just because we are now afraid that an attack like this is going to happen again, and since it happened the first time with Muslims, we just assume that it might happen again with Muslims. So for the third discussion question, why do you think Muslims still suffer to this day at airports even though there has not been an attack like this since 9/11? If Al-Qaeda had never attacked America, our lives would be very different from what they are today. Our security measures would be much different, and the lives of Americans would be different because we would live without fear of terrorism like we have now.